Newsradio 1070 WKOK presents On the Mark. It's a chance to voice your opinion on the events that affect life in the Susquehanna Valley. Call 1-800-795-9565 or email onthemark@wkok.com. Now, here are your hosts for On the Mark, Mark Lawrence and Joe McGranahan.
Oh, well, Mark, you've grown a beard and you have gotten considerably older.
And all that beautiful hair fell out.
Yeah.
I am no longer the most handsome man on the planet, as Mark calls himself.
Well, and you probably aren't going to make up words this morning either, as Mark often does on the program.
Never necessarily, never. No.
You were. I mean, I've known you for a while, and you used to be Than Mitchell. When did you change your name to Mark Lawrence?
When I found out you could make a lot more money that way. Anyway, good morning, Joe
Yes, good morning.
McGranahan. How are you this fine
I'm
morning?
doing well. The world's greatest producer over there is Kevin Herr, and he played the world's wrongest intro to the program.
Well, I'll tell you what, I've gotten so I don't pay much attention to the intro.
There are two of us here, and we have some special guests in the studio this morning. But before we get to them, let us remind you that On the Mark is brought to you by the Sunbury Motor Company, a family-owned dealership since 1915. 4th Street in Sunbury, routes 11 and 15 in Hummel's Wharf. You can find out a whole lot more about them by visiting their website, www.sunburymotors.com. And they invite you to visit the Quick Lane on North 4th Street in Sunbury. They specialize in all types of service on vehicles, state inspections, and nitrogen for tires. They're open Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., and Saturday from 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. We have a toll-free hotline number if you want to call and ask questions of our guests this morning. That's 1-800-795-9565. Or you can email us at the Lenemy Solar email in basket. It's open on the mark at WKOK.com. And if you send us an email, we'll do our best to read it. Lenemy Solar is located at 140 South 2nd Street in Sunbury. You can call them at 570-286-1496, and you can find them on the web at www.lenapesolar.com. They invite you to harness the power of the sun for a brighter tomorrow. And if you have a computer nearby and you're going to listen to us on the computer, you can watch us on the computer by checking out our webcam at www.wkok.com. Go to On the Mark, and there's a link to the webcam, and you can see our distinguished guests. One of them's quite attractive, the other's Art Bowen. And
I thought you were going to say one of them's quite attractive, the other's Larissa. But good morning, you two. How are you this morning?
Good morning.
It's nice to have you here. Art Bowen, of course, is well known in the area, a realtor of long standing, and I believe our last guest is about to enter the studio. And have
a seat, Beth.
All right. And with Art, and Art's here today not in his capacity as a real estate agent, but and a longtime member of the business community of the Valley, but he's here to talk about the Heart Walk. And he brought with him Larissa Bedrick, who is from the American Heart Association in Harrisburg, and Beth Robbins, who is from the Lewisburg office of Bowen Real Estate. I'll be all right. So, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Welcome to the program.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
Let's talk about this Heart Walk for a minute. First of all, give us some background on it. How long have you been doing it? What is the purpose, and where and when?
Well, we have the Central Susquehanna Valley Heart Walk coming up on Saturday, September 13th. It's going to be at Knoebels. It's a really fun event. You come out. Registration starts around noon. The walk itself will kick off around 1 o'clock. It's really not a very long walk. It's a few miles. You can make it as long or as short as you would like to, and then you can enjoy a great afternoon in the park. It's a really fun event to come out to, and you get to support heart disease and stroke research and education in our community. And it really is happening right here in our community.
So there's no specific amount of time or space you have to walk?
I believe there's a walk route that is
1 mile and
1 mile.
3 miles.
I think it's a 1 mile and a 3 mile route that's available.
So how does this work? How does this raise money for the Heart Association? Do people solicit pledges for how many miles they walk or how far they go? Or
yes, we ask that people would ask for donations leading up to the walk. There is no registration fee. It really is actually free to attend. If you would like to attend and you haven't been able to raise any money, we would certainly invite anyone to come out and enjoy it. But yes, we would like for people to ask for donations from family, friends, co-workers, anyone who you feel would be interested in donating to help support the cause.
How do we donate? Let's say we can't make it to the Heart Walk,
Okay.
but somebody is out there and they'd like to send a check.
Well,
Can
we
you-
would
Can you give them an idea what to do?
Yes, absolutely. We would absolutely welcome that. If you feel that you'd like to give in honor of someone maybe who's been affected by heart disease or stroke, or someone who just inspires you to, to live healthier, you can certainly donate to the Heart Walk. The web address where you can donate online, probably one of the easiest methods, is www.heart.org/CSV Walk. That's probably one of the easiest ways to donate. If you are unable to get online, you can certainly call one of our staff members in the office and tell them that you would like to donate. The number to call is 614-396-3501.
Art, how are you involved in this whole thing? I know you've got a heart. You've had it for years.
Heart.
Okay, I got it.
I've been involved with the Heart Walk for a number of years, and this is my third stint as chair of the Heart Walk. And having had heart disease, a brother who has heart disease, and a sister-in-law who just had a catheterization in 99% block, also works for the Bowen Agency. We've had several people in our office who've had open heart surgery. So it's all around us. Our friends and neighbors and coworkers are affected. So I believe in the cause. I believe in the education of the public in order to get them to start walking. And they could come over to Knoebels on September 13th and begin their program, Start Walking. Walking at least 3 or 4 times a week, a couple miles, and start slow and work up to it.
Beth, what's your involvement in this?
Well, this is my first year in the Heart Walk. And I'm going to help Art with the campaign to build our Bowen team.
So that is the whole Bowen agencies
Yes.
are a part of this.
Yes, and we're hoping that not only the members of the agency, but past clients and current clients will get involved in the Heart Walk.
What is how's the money used? There are 2 questions here. One, does a lot of it stay local? And the second is, how is the research going? I'm sure that it changes every day. But are we gaining something in our heart disease?
Absolutely. The American Heart Association is one of the nation's largest investors in heart and stroke research. We're second only to the federal government in that. And so we're investing millions of dollars in heart and stroke research every year. And in fact, a lot of that is taking place in Pennsylvania. There's currently 131 active research grants going on in the state of Pennsylvania, totaling more than $24.6 million. So a lot of that money is staying here in Pennsylvania at different research institutions across the state. And, regardless of where that research is taking place, it is benefiting residents right here. That research that we conduct, we take the information we learn and we figure out how to put it into practice in healthcare settings everywhere across the country. So regardless of what hospital you're going to or what healthcare practice you're going to, you're benefiting from many of the things that we've learned through that research, whether it's improved speed or improved procedures for cardiovascular or stroke care that you're receiving.
It's rather scary when you note here that each year, and according to the facts that you gave us, 785,000 Americans will have their first heart attack, and an estimated 470,000 will have another heart attack, and about 795,000 Americans each year suffer a new or recurrent stroke. Those are large numbers. Given all the awareness of this, are people doing enough to stay healthy and avoid the risks associated with the risk factors associated with heart disease and stroke?
Yeah, heart disease is the number 1 killer and stroke is the number 4, and it's been that way for quite some time. But it's true that pretty much everybody could be doing something more to prevent heart disease and stroke. We found that less than 1% of all Americans are in ideal cardiovascular health.
What is our ideal cardiovascular health? Give us a definition.
Well, it's people who fall into what we consider to be the healthiest ranges for various types of activities, whether it is you're getting the recommended amount of exercise, you're eating the right amount of healthy foods, that you're not smoking, that your blood sugar is under control, that your cholesterol is under control, that your blood pressure is under control and that you're within healthy weight range. Those are all of the things that should be taken into consideration, and there's probably one of those, at least for everybody, that we could be doing a little bit better job on.
I got to do all that. I go to the gym every day, and you're making me feel like a slug.
Oh, it's true. I mean, pretty much all of us. I mean, we would think of ourselves as healthy. Oh, yeah, I exercise, I eat right, but there's usually something that we could be doing a little bit more of.
And I think maybe heart attacks and strokes sneak up on people without knowing that they're coming. It's not as though it slowly comes on oftentimes. Suddenly it happens.
It can.
And if you're not taking care of yourself, probably becomes more devastating.
What is the Heart Association's role? I mean, do they provide support for people who have heart disease, or are they focused on research and prevention and cure?
We are focused on, like you said, prevention and research. We look at, like I said, we invest in research. We also invest in educating the community through various programs. We're actually one of the nation's leaders in CPR education. To help people who do suffer from cardiac arrest, make sure that as many people as possible will be available to help them. We invest in training healthcare providers to provide the best care, investing in the next generation of healthcare providers in their research efforts. We're working in the community with children. We're in hundreds of schools, actually impacting thousands of kids throughout this region in our Jump Rope for Heart and Hoops for Heart programs. So we're teaching kids healthy activities right in the school. And we're also, one of the most important things that we do too is actually advocate for policies in Harrisburg and in Washington, D.C. that impact our health. Actually, one of the biggest victories that we had recently was here in Harrisburg. We just passed on June 3rd, finally signed into law, a bill that would ensure that every single newborn in the state of Pennsylvania is screened for critical congenital heart defects before they leave the hospital. So that was a huge victory for us, something we worked really hard for.
Was that a serious problem before they started doing that? Were there a lot of infants born with heart defects?
Heart defects are one of the most common birth defects out there, and certain heart defects can be detected either prenatally or by a physical after the baby's born, but sometimes they're missed. And this particular test, called a pulse oximetry test, which is non-invasive, very inexpensive, measures the blood oxygen concentration, which can be a pretty big indicator if there is a serious heart defect.
We have to take a break, and we'll do that, and we'll be back with more of On the Mark right after these messages.
While looking for a vehicle, you know that if it sounds too good to be true, chances are it is too good to be true. You get the runaround, gotta go from place to place. Well, you can just skip all of that and go straight to Sunbury Motor Company. Sunbury Motor Company has been satisfying more customers and selling more cars since 1915, so you know they've got it right. No offers that look good on paper or online, and then you get disappointed when you see them in person. Sunbury Motor Company offers a lineup few other auto dealers in the area can compete with. With the inventory of Ford, Hyundai, Kia, and Lincoln vehicles, there will be no problem finding the right vehicle that fits your needs and your budget. And the friendly, knowledgeable staff's ready and able to help you with everything from the test drive to the drive off the lot. See for yourself at Sunbury Motors. Sunbury Motors, Ford, Lincoln, Hyundai in the North 4th Street Auto Plaza, Sunbury. And Sunbury Motors Kia, routes 11 and 15, Hummel's Wharf. Look for them online anytime at sunburymotors.com.
Coming up today after 3, an encore broadcast of The Steve Jones Show that followed Live for Life. Great interviews with coaches and players and more. It's all 3 to 5 on The Steve Jones Show on News Radio 1070 WKOK.
But I would walk 500 miles and I would walk 500.
I haven't heard that one in quite a while, have you?
No, but I'm not going to walk 500 miles. I don't care.
Well, I'm sure that if you had pledges, they'd be happy to accept you walk 500 miles at the Heart Walk at Knoebels Grove on September the 13th. And our guests this morning are Art Bowen from the Bowen Agency, Beth Robbins, who's also from the Bowen Agency, and Larissa Bedrick, who is with the American Heart Association.
Art, I wanted to get personal for a moment, if I might. You said you had...
You have my permission to slap him if you don't like the question.
Don't get too close.
I pre-asked. Is it, since you had heart problems, or let's say they probably don't go away, so you have heart problems, what did you do to change your lifestyle? I won't ask you what you were doing before, but what did you do to change your lifestyle? You're a very healthy young man now.
When I first found that I had some symptoms of atherosclerosis, hardening of the arteries, and blockage, I went to the doctor and I found out that I passed all the EKGs. I passed the thallium stress test. I got on the treadmill and had no problems working through that. And I said to the cardiologist, how will I really know if I have blockage or not? He said, the only way you'll know is get a catheterization. I said, fine, schedule one. Went to Geisinger and had Dr. Jim Blankenship do the cath, found 2 blocks, and he said, what do you want to do? And I said, put the stents in. And so after that, I educated myself, found a little book at CVS on where all this started with saturated fats and unsaturated fats, and I educated myself as to what to eat and what not to eat, and read labels. And of course, reading the labels, I talked to other people with heart disease, and they say they don't eat any foods that have more than 6 grams of fat. And so I started really looking at my diet and looking at what I ate. I don't eat as much bacon, which I love, ice cream, which I love, and so I've eating more fruits and vegetables, less meat, and not that I don't have French fries once in a while, Dan, but
good. Whoa, you had me frightened there for a
life
minute.
without French fries would not be good.
I was thinking of Jack Benny. Let's see, French fries and ice cream and heart. I'm thinking.
But it really is just
that's a reference lost on a lot of people today, Dan.
Paying attention to trans fats, and that's really the culprit, and looking at labels and looking at items that start with whole grain, whole wheat, and eating less and exercising more. So,
how much do you exercise a day?
If you talk to my wife, she'll say less than I tell you. But I either do stretches. I have a half hour to 40 minutes of stretching, or I'll do walking 2.5 to 3 miles. And I try to do that 4 to 5 days a week. Don't always because of schedules like this, but and just fast walking.
Well, now I'm serious about this. I get to the gym every day, Monday through Sunday. Once in a while I have to miss, like you say, because of scheduling opportunities. Now I use the treadmill or exercise bike, and I do a lot of cardio stuff, and I do some strength stuff. But I don't feel any different today than I did 20 years ago in terms of, I don't feel like I'm going to fall over, but what should I be looking for? I mean, you said the doctor told you the only way you can find out if you have a blockage is by having a catheterization, but what am I likely to experience in terms of symptoms if I'm doing this and have something wrong?
I was walking with a group of friends for a number of years, and every time we'd go up App Road, I'm sure you're aware of that.
Familiar with that, yes.
Steep hill. And I would get to the top, and everybody else would keep walking, and I'd be gasping for breath. I'd be bent over, gasping for breath. We were down the islands on vacation, same thing. We had 8 of us, and we're walking, and I'd get to the top of the hill, and I could hardly breathe. And I'm going, why isn't everybody else out of breath? Because I'm in good shape, I thought. Well, I wasn't. And I had the block, and that was the symptom. And that I didn't have a heart attack. I just had this shortness of breath. My brother did the same thing. He was shortness of breath. He was having jaw pain. We were down in Myrtle Beach playing golf. The next day, we came home. Saturday, he walked a mountain by himself, had the same symptoms. Went to the doctor. He had the Widowmaker blocked, and he had to have a stent put in his aorta. And then I just had a sister-in-law recently. She went to her daughter's wedding, her son's wedding over here in the river. Couldn't dance, a shortness of breath. And I said, you really need to go see your doctor and get a catheterization. Because I said, you're having the same symptoms Bill and I had. She did and had a 99% block. And so I think that really one of the symptoms that you can tell right away is shortness of breath. Now there's other symptoms, you get discomfort in the arms, back, neck, jaw, or stomach. You have chest discomfort, tightness of chest. You feel they say like an elephant sitting on your chest. And other signs for women especially, you break out in a cold sweat, nausea, lightheadedness. And you should go to the doctor right away. And the doctor's going to usually give you an EKG, They'll look at the past history of EKGs if you've had them. They'll do the stress test, thallium stress test, where they inject a dye into the bloodstream. And but really, the only way to know if you're having a lot of symptoms and you're not sure is get a catheterization.
Beth, you look fairly fit. Have you had a catheterization recently or any heart issues?
I have not.
And
But I'm thinking about it now.
That is rather frightening, though, when you stop to think about it, that you could be walking around. I mean, I can't say, have you, any of you, other than Art, ever noticed shortness of breath? I can't say that I haven't exercising. I mean, you guys are too young to have that, or are you too young to have that issue?
You know, that's the thing. It really doesn't discriminate. You know, it really could happen to anybody at any age. I mean, certainly, you know, as you age, that certainly, you know, increases your risk. But it is something that pretty much all of us need to look out for, regardless of age, and, you know, really regardless of how healthy we think we are. You know, we've heard many stories of people who think they're perfectly healthy. They exercise regularly. You know, they eat well. They've done everything right, and they suddenly have a heart attack. It can still happen. So
do you realize you're scaring Joe to death?
Well, you know, I look at exercise this way, and I think it's important to exercise, but if I exercise because I like to eat, and I like to eat things that probably aren't very good for me. I like a steak. I like French fries. Art, I'll eat your share if you give them up, and I'm still digging into the bacon every morning. You know, so am I working at cross purposes by exercising and then eating stuff I like?
No, you know, I mean, we certainly say you can eat foods that you like in moderation. Anything in moderation is probably okay.
How about excess? Where does that fit in? I like
over
excess.
here.
It'll catch up with you one of these days, Joe.
Thanks, Art. Well, it's always a balance. I mean, you want to be healthy, but it's sometimes in your life, if you have to give up everything you enjoy, is being healthy worth it? Because nobody gets out of here alive, right?
Not yet.
Not yet.
Not yet.
At least we don't know of anybody.
I'm working at it if I can. But, you know, what I'd like to do now is get a reiteration of what we're talking about, and that's a heart walk coming up in September. And I'll let Larissa talk about it.
Sure. It's September 13th, Saturday, September 13th at Knoebels. Registration starts at noon, and the walk kicks off at 1 o'clock. If you'd like to register, sign up to walk yourself, sign up for a team, maybe sign up all your coworkers to walk together or your family. Or maybe you'd like to join Art's team at the Bowen Agency. You can go to heart.org/CSV walk, or you can call 614-396-3501, and we would love to have you be a part of the event.
Beth, is that how you would sign up for the Bowen team?
Actually, to be a member of the Bowen team, we'd encourage everyone to go to the Bowen Agency webpage, which is www.bowenagency.com, and join our team from there. You can also find us on Facebook. We'll have the event posted, and you can join through Facebook.
How many people are on the Bowen team at this point? Do we know?
Go ahead, Art.
Not yet.
Okay, but it's growing.
We're looking for more.
It's growing.
We're hoping.
Well, now, what does
anyone
being a member of the team get you? I mean, do you looking for people who can bring in a certain number of donations, or do you help them find contributors, or what do you do as a member of your team?
We are looking for donations.
anyone that can go out and, you know, just ask your friends and relatives and neighbors if you'd like to contribute, whether it's $5, $10, or $100.
You have pledge forms? Are there pledge forms available somewhere online or?
Online, they can sign up and pledge right online and either give the contribution or send in a check. In the past, we've raised on the Bone team over $8,000, 7,700 one year, over $8,000 another year, and we're hoping to exceed that this year.
What are you hoping overall, Larissa, to get out of this in terms of financing?
Oh, I'm looking for my goal right now, and I do not have it in front of me. And
$55,000.
Oh, $55,000.
For this one walk?
Yes.
Wow. And how many people will have taken part in the past in one of these walks?
We've had anywhere from 600 to 1,000.
That's great.
Geisinger and Evan Hospital and formerly Shamokin Hospital, now Geisinger, all involved. And they bring in quite a few people. And then everyone else that joins the team might be a family member, might be just a small family of 2 or 3 people on a team. It might be 20 or 30 or 100 on a team.
And I think probably if your family has been affected, as yours has, by heart disease, that probably you become more interested in helping because you realize the devastation that somebody or some group of people in your family have come to.
Yeah, I was just thinking, Art, what we really need is low-fat bacon ice cream.
With hot dogs made out.
Right.
How about in a whole wheat wrap?
And a whole wheat wrap, yeah. Well, you know, it's difficult to spend your life worrying about how you're going to prevent certain things from happening. But I think the things you've talked about are kind of common sense. If you eat right, if you exercise, and if, as you said, Larissa, if you do everything in moderation. But moderation's hard to do. You know, if some things, if you really like it, you don't want to be moderate in them. You want to be excessive in them.
But I think probably, and Larissa, straighten me out. If you're going to be excessive in the other direction. If you got to eat bacon every day, go to the gym.
See, well, that's what other people call compulsion.
Oh, okay.
On that side.
That's what I call life.
You know, I'm
actually
a compulsive non-eater. I mean, I see people going around eating salads and all this healthful stuff, and I think, okay, if it's worth it, if at the end of the line you're going to feel better about yourself and your heart's going to be better, then you probably are willing to pay that price. But it's hard to know whether you're getting anything in return for that commitment you make as you walking around and all of a sudden realizing you're short of breath.
You really don't know till you have the symptoms, but you can.
And then it's too late?
Well, it could be too late, or it could be a warning sign to change your habits. You know, my favorite is Middlesworth barbecue kettle cooked potato chips.
Oh.
Well, there's an ad. I better call Jeff Goff and get a contribution. But
Have him send us all a pile of chips up too.
But you know what? 13 chips is a serving size, and how many of us eat a weekender?
Well, that's true. I mean, I look at some of these things that I enjoy. Like I'm partial to those Fritos corn chips.
Oh, jeez. Oh my!
You know, a single serving is 2 of them, and it's 170 calories.
Actually, I'm still looking for the weekend that bag's supposed to last. It's a little closer to an hour for me. I think they need to change the name.
Thank you, Kevin, for adding that, and go get us a bag of chips while we're doing the break. We have to run now because we have a guest coming up, and we thank our guests this morning, Art Bowen, Larissa Bedrick, and Beth Robbins, who are here talking about the Heart Walk. It's coming up on September 13th at Knoebels, and you're welcome to participate, and you can find out about them on the net at
heart.org/CSV Walk.
Great. Thanks a lot for being with us. We invite you to stick around. Coming up and the next part of the program, we have a state representative who is from the immediate area, and I'm trying to find all my information about him, but we'll be back with that on WKOK Radio in Sunbury, Pennsylvania.
CBS News, I'm Frank Sedapani. The line at the unemployment office was shorter last week. The Labor Department says new claims for jobless benefits, a proxy for layoffs, fell by 14,000 to around 289,000. Economist Joel Naroff says fewer layoffs are a good omen for employment and income gains later on, and we're beginning to see that.
Businesses are rarely firing anymore, and they're beginning to hire a lot quicker.
Naroff says unemployment claims are at levels that haven't been seen in 30 to 40 years. Hawaii is bracing for its first direct hurricane hit in 22 years. Hurricane Iselle is expected to make landfall somewhere in the next few hours. At Ken's Pancake House in Hilo, Peggy is serving flapjacks and comfort to worried customers.
A lot of them are concerned. They keep watching the news and asking us if we're going to be open. We'll stay open as long as Civil Defense lets us.
On the heels of Iselle, Hurricane Julio is expected to pass close to the islands over the weekend. An ambitious transit project is going nowhere fast. Live to CBS News correspondent Jim Taylor.
It is like a train to nowhere, Frank. High-speed rail. Despite the Obama administration spending $11 billion to make passenger trains go faster, for the most part they are not. As the New York Times reports, most of that money spent upgrading Amtrak service, which allows trains to go no faster than 110 miles an hour. Japanese bullet trains go twice that speed. Only place there's progress, California. Ground is broken for an $86 billion high-speed rail project. Frank?
Russia has imposed a ban on food from the U.S. and its allies in retaliation for sanctions they imposed for Moscow's interference in Ukraine. Economist Peter Marisi says the move could boomerang.
Consumers essentially will face shortages and higher prices. Certainly the Russians can't purchase in Asia. They can grow more of their own, but they can't do it as inexpensively.
Fugitive government secrets leaker Edward Snowden will be able to spend another 3 years in Russia. Reporter Alec Loon has that from Moscow.
Snowden has just received a 3-year residency permit to remain in Russia, which will allow him for the first time to be able to travel outside of Russia for up to 3 months at a time.
Sergeant Bo Bergdahl is facing another day of questioning by an Army general about his capture in Afghanistan. Some members of his outfit have called Bergdahl a deserter. Civilian attorney Eugene Fidel says an interview yesterday went well.
It was not a trial. It wasn't adversarial. It wasn't a lot of, questions and answers, aggressive questioning.
In northwestern Iraq, Christian ministers say the Islamic fanatics who control large chunks of territory have overrun a cluster of Christian villages. Kurdish fighters who'd been protecting the area reportedly fled along with fearful civilians. In another area, some refugees have made it off a mountaintop that's surrounded by ISIS insurgents.
We understand that a large number of people have been extracted from the mountain. We have thousands of people that are still trapped.
The UN's David Swanson. S&P futures are up 6 points. This is CBS News.
Every story is a journey. And this journey plays out all summer long during the Emirates Airline U.S. Open Series. Don't miss your chance to see some of the top players in the world battle it out to see who's best. 5 weeks, 8 tournaments, 8 cities. Which champion will prevail? Which new hero will emerge? This is your chance to find out. For complete TV listings, go to EmirateSUSOpenSeries.com.
The service experts at your Ford dealer know you'll likely be hitting the road this summer. So get the works. It's a synthetic blend oil change, tire rotation, brake inspection, and more, designed to keep your Ford running right.
Right now, get the works for $39.95 or less minus a $10 mail-in rebate, making it just $29.95. Only at your Ford dealer. Up to 5 quarts oil, taxes, diesel, and disposal fees extra. Rebate by prepaid debit card. See participating Ford dealer for rebate details through 8/31/14.
Even if you're smarter than a first grader, you might not have an edge when it comes to digital skills. CBS's Larry Miller has the story from London.
Research by Britain's communications regulator finds today's 6-year-olds are as tech-savvy as people 45. Just 8% of teens use email, while 77% of adults do, and only 3% of teens use telephone landlines.
I spend most time on Instagram. I've kind of grown up with the technology.
The regulator's Jane Rumble.
This is the first generation to benefit from broadband and digital communications.
The research also found the British now spend more time each day using technology than sleeping. Larry Miller, CBS News, London.
There may be a lot of trash on TV, but a show that debuts tomorrow on the Pivot Network is the real deal. Human Resources, billed as a reality docudrama, chronicles daily life at a New Jersey recycling plant that turns everything from plastic bags to cigarette butts into something new. Frank Zettapani, CBS News.
The PGA Championship returns to TNT. Valhalla welcomes Rory McIlroy, Phil Mickelson, defending champion Jason Duffner, and the strongest field in golf. The players will be challenged with a course designed for drama, leaving no shortage of unforgettable moments. Don't miss the only championship for professionals by professionals. This is major.
Are you kidding me? How about that?
This is the PGA Championship.
Wow. You are welcome, America.
Today at 1 on TNT.
This is Charles Osgood. What is customer service? Well, for some, it's a warm greeting or a smile or perhaps even knowing your name. But for the independent agents representing auto owners insurance, it's about more than that. It's getting to know you and your needs so that you can get the proper coverage. Really, it's better than customer service. It's customer care. Go to autoowners.com to locate an independent agent near you. Auto Owners Insurance, the no-problem people.
Newsradio 1070 WKOK presents On the Mark. It's a chance to voice your opinion on the events that affect life in the Susquehanna Valley. Call 1-800-795-9565 or email onthemark@wkok.com. Now, here are your hosts for On the Mark, Joe McGranahan and Than Mitchell.
Welcome back to On the Mark.
Got it right that time.
Right. The world's greatest producer has scored again. Welcome back to On the
One
Mark.
out of 1 out of 2 is not great, Joe.
What you don't understand...
Even a blind pig gets an acorn once in a while.
What you don't understand is it doesn't matter in the first hour because Mark is normally the host. So, as I've told you many times...
That's true.
It's not that he's not here at all. It's just that he's off today.
He's with us in spirit, if not in person. Is that what you're...
Something like that.
When Ed Sullivan was sick, they said it's the Ed Sullivan Show, even though it was somebody else there.
It was still the Steve Jones Show the last 2 days, but Steve was on vacation. There's another example.
Well, but I think you say the Steve Jones Show with...
Kevin Hur. Right?
Sometimes.
Okay. Well,
okay.
Now that we've ironed that all out, and our guest has fallen asleep waiting for us to get on the program, On the Mark is brought to you by the Sunbury Motor Company, a family-owned dealership since 1915. 4 streets in Sunbury, routes 11 and 15 in Hummel's Wharf. Find out lots more about them at www.sunburymotors.com. We do have a guest in the studio if you want to call us and ask a question, because we're going to be talking about pension reform in Pennsylvania. Our toll-free hotline number is 1-800-795-9565, or you can email your questions to the Lenape Solar email in-basket on the mark at WKOK.com. And we remind you our webcam is up and rumming. It's now up and running.
Yes.
It would have been running, but we had to give it a little too much to drink, so now it's rumming. We invite you to go to www.wkok, click on the On the Mark little tab there, and then you'll find another little tab that says Watch Live and all that stuff, and you can click on it and see the webcam, our broadcast live from Studio A here at Sunbury Broadcasting Corporation. A brief look at news headlines. Today, work will focus on Duke Street in the Northumberland Borough. The patching work will take place between 3rd and 5th Streets during the day Thursday. A lane restriction will be in effect from 8:30 a.m. until 2 p.m. Motorists should expect delays and drive with caution through the work zone. Tomorrow, bridge maintenance will take place on Route 147 between Route 45 and Route 405 in West Chillisquaque Township. According to PennDOT, the southbound lane of the bridge will be closed during the day while the work is performed. In other words, you can't get there from here. And that'll be our traffic update for this morning. We're delighted to have with us State Representative Mike Tobash. Mike represents the 125th District of Pennsylvania's House, and that is Berks County, a little bit of Schuylkill County, and now you tell me you're going to have a little bit of Dauphin.
Yeah. With redistricting under the next term, I will no longer have Berks County, but I'll have Schuylkill County and a small chunk of Dauphin County, northern Dauphin County.
We were first elected to the House in November 2010 with the goal of improving the job climate by reducing taxes and government burdens on citizens and employers, right-sizing government by enacting timely and responsible budgets, and defending our constitutional rights. I bet you're a Republican.
Yes, sir.
Oh, gee, it sounded like a good American to me.
Oh, well, good Americans are Republicans. I know that's a bizarre concept to you, not exclusively, right. But you're here today to talk to us about pension reform, which is something you've been working very hard on in the State House. Where does it stand? What do you think, what's proposed right now, and what are the chances?
Well, number one, yes, we've been working, I would say, tirelessly on the issue. Myself and quite a number of my colleagues, I think the entire House is engaged in the debate, certainly because it's such an important issue for the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. The governor proposed a bill that was proposed by a colleague of mine, Chris Ross, and someone over in the Senate, Senator Brubaker. That bill had taken a lot of fire. It got some gravity and it got some altitude and then lost some altitude. A dear friend of mine and colleague, Warren Camp, had produced and introduced another concept, a straight defined contribution plan into the Commonwealth. That plan also had taken on some water. And I have worked closely with him, members of the Senate, and we've got an amendment to that bill. So the House bill is 1353. We've introduced another concept. I am proud, happy to serve on the Public Employees Retirement Commission. In 2012, we took pension testimony from stakeholders in the Commonwealth, and we came up with a plan that is a transition to the defined contribution plan. We took care of some issues that were pointed out in the fiscal note from the Public Employees Retirement Commission. We've got an amendment to a live bill, and we're hopeful that we can get back to session in the fall here in September, get it voted, and have new pension policy in the Commonwealth.
We ought to have a definitions sheet that goes with this. I know a lot of people have trouble with defined contribution. Would you take a moment to explain that concept?
Sure. Well, let me just go first to the basic, the traditional pension that we've got in the Commonwealth, and that's a defined benefit program.
And look, people are familiar with that. It's a program that gives you a defined benefit based on years of service, final average salary, and a multiplier. So after working a number of years, there's a calculation made based on your final average salary, and then there is a benefit given to those retirees each month for the rest of their life, and that benefit is guaranteed. And we have seen the private sector, basically since probably about the mid-1980s, transition over to defined contribution, where at the time that the benefit is earned, at the time of employment, there is an amount paid, given, or set aside by the employee, and that contribution is defined. The employee then manages their account, and then that retirement benefit is theirs to manage moving forward. So it's basically a 401k type plan, which people are familiar with.
Right. Now, are we talking about doing this for people who are now law enforcement officers, for instance, and their benefits are coming up and they have had the contract for 50 years or whatever? Are we going to do it to them, or are we talking about the new workers coming in that we'd like to start the system change?
The plans that have been proposed generally, and this plan is no different, really is exclusively for new employees coming into the Commonwealth, which includes people coming into our public school systems. So it's Commonwealth employees, state employees, and public school employees, new people only. It does not affect existing employee benefits, and is quite frankly designed to protect the benefits that they have earned, as well as the benefits that retirees have earned. So why the opposition? Yes, why the opposition? We have got a tremendous problem in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, and quite frankly, I struggle with the reasons for the opposition. I hear some of the arguments, and I can tell you that, in my opinion, there's a lot of myth out there. The arguments don't hold water. Some of them come from the vein that the problem or the solution that we've offered here does not give immediate relief to school districts. Well, I can tell you that that is the case, and as you've mentioned, that we're only talking about new employees coming into the system. This is not an immediate fix to the deep hole that we have dug for ourselves, but make no question, this changes the direction of our pension system in the Commonwealth and will get us out of the huge debt that we find ourselves in. It doesn't happen overnight. I hear arguments about the fact that we've got $50 billion of debt. It's almost incomprehensible how the amount of debt that we've got in these systems. And the conversation is that it doesn't get us out of $50 billion of debt overnight. I can tell you that's not going to happen. So it's not an immediate fix, but we didn't get in the problem overnight, and we can't get out of it overnight. So this is absolutely a plan that will change the course of our pension policy in the Commonwealth. It will lower cost, it will develop savings, it will shift the risk away from taxpayers, thereby making sure we don't get in this situation again. It will offer a reasonable and sustainable pension program to new employees coming into the Commonwealth. I think it's great pension policy. Our guest is Representative Mike Tobash, State House of Representatives, representing the 125th District. And we're talking about pension reform and a bill that he's supporting and introduced, and we invite your calls at 1-800-795-9565, or you may email us at onthemark@wkok.com. We're going to take a brief break, and then we'll be back with more of On the Mark.
While looking for a vehicle, you know that if it sounds too good to be true, chances are it is too good to be true. You get the runaround, gotta go from place to place. Well, you can just skip all of that and go straight to Sunbury Motor Company. Sunbury Motor Company has been satisfying more customers and selling more cars since 1915, so you know they've got it right. No offers that look good on paper or online, and then you get disappointed when you see them in person. Sunbury Motor Company offers a lineup few other auto dealers in the area can compete with. With the inventory of Ford, Hyundai, Kia, and Lincoln vehicles, there will be no problem finding the right vehicle that fits your needs and your budget. And the friendly, knowledgeable staff's ready and able to help you with everything from the test drive to the drive off the lot. See for yourself at Sunbury Motors. Sunbury Motors, Ford, Lincoln, Hyundai in the North 4th Street Auto Plaza, Sunbury. And Sunbury Motors Kia, routes 11 and 15, Hummel's Wharf. Look for them online anytime at sunburymotors.com.
This is Justin Charles from Lenape Solar. Did you know we use exclusive manufacturing partners? Our solar modules are made with American components in an American factory by an American company in Milwaukee. Our lighting fixtures are made less than 3 hours away in Philadelphia. Even our fluorescent lamps are made here in the U.S., as are our solar racking systems. We're dedicated not just to quality, but our local economy. Find out more by calling 286-1496, online at lenapesolar.com, or drop by our showroom at 140 South 2nd Street, Sunbury, and see these products in person.
Come on home to convenience. Come on over with style. Come on home to real savings. Service with the real smile.
Hey, why search the newspaper classifieds when the best yard sales are at Kohl's Hardware?
Come on home to Kohl's annual yard sale event for the best prices of the year on seasonal merchandise, overstock items, and closeout products.
Show up early for bargain prices on grills, patio furniture, solar lights, pool toys, lawn and garden merchandise, and more.
Smart yard sale shoppers know that each yard sale is unique, so be sure to shop all 11 Kohl's Hardware locations.
And be sure to shop Kohl's yard sale event often, since the prices keep going down.
Now is the perfect time to buy hand and power tools, fountains, hose carts, statuary, paint, automotive goods, houseware items, and more.
Look for the big white tents at all 11 Kohl's Hardware stores and shop the yard sales. We're right around the corner, right here in your hometown. Come on home to Kohl's.
Come on home to Kohl's. Kohl's Hardware. Come on home to Kohl's.
Welcome back to On the Mark. Our guest this morning, State Representative Mike Tobash from the 125th District, which is right next door to Kurt Mosser's district. He's eventually going to have a northern part or some northern part of Dauphin County, so he's going to be someone we're going to see and hear a lot more of in the coming months and years. And we're talking about pension reform, and Than asked a question I thought was very interesting right before we came back, and that is there how do the Democrats have a plan, and is there Democratic support for this plan, and if not, why not?
The conversation about the Democratic solution to this is basically a pension obligation bond. A pension obligation bond would be an influx of cash into the systems, and look, when we're bonding, we are borrowing money, so we're borrowing money to fill in some of this debt. And there's a proposal on the table. I think Senator Blake has something in the range of $10 billion influx of cash. Look, there's tremendous risk with that. I've got a statistic here that less than a third of 1% of all pension programs throughout the Commonwealth have entered into pension obligation bonds, and the track record has not been very good. So, look, we're in a bad way right now, as I mentioned before. I keep characterizing this debt, this unfunded liability, $50 billion. Again, it's almost incomprehensible, the amount of capital that we need to have in these systems. But to go out and borrow and hope through some arbitrage scheme that we're going to outperform the borrowing rate and use that to prop up these pension systems, I think is bad policy. If you take a look at it, and we do have earnings of 7.5%, we borrow the money at 5.5%, there's no question that you win. The question is, can you win under that scenario, and do we want to risk taxpayers' dollars with that play?
Well, if you're not taking anything away from current workers, and I agree with Than on that one, that would be unconscionable because you made a deal with people and you have to keep that deal. But how can you object to modifying the benefits for people who don't even work for the Commonwealth?
Well, it's even worse than that, Joe, and really I appreciate that comment. So, we are getting pushback. We're getting pushback from organizations that support their current employees and future employees, and basically the union. We're getting a lot of pushback from PSEA, who's concerned about the benefits for future employees. They don't want to take a step back. But I can tell you, as I've mentioned before, the private sector has generally moved over to 401k type pension plans, and the Commonwealth needs to be more like the private sector in this regard. We've got a huge amount of debt. We've got to get out of it, and we need to make change. So the pushback, I think, is unreasonable. I can tell you this, I had a young lady in the Capitol, a friend of mine, graduated from Elizabethtown College, my alma mater. She graduated with honors with a degree in elementary education and special education. She applied for a position at Pine Grove School District and one position in their elementary school. Joe, do you know how many other applicants there were for that position? Take a stab.
100?
Than, go ahead, more?
Oh, no, I would say 1,000.
Well, so they graduate about 85 students a year, and there were 344 applicants for one position.
Wow.
This young lady would be happy to get out of college, and she's out now, but to be employed by the Commonwealth, use her skills, her talent, and her intelligence to benefit kids, elementary school students, and we'd love to have her there. But we have got this systemic problem within our public school system, and it's this huge pension debt. Listen, if you were in the private sector and you heard these numbers, and if you're in the public sector, you should be frightened by the fact that our total employer contribution into these systems in 2013-14 school year was $3.4 billion. That included state employees, the employer, and the school districts. Okay, total employer contribution. By the year 2018-2019, that number is going to be $6.6 billion. That is the increase that we're on. And we talk about funding to our public education system. We're going to be hard-pressed to replace teachers. We're going to see more kids in each classroom. We're going to continue to see a huge number of jobs that are going that are not being replaced or not being able to get filled because of this huge pension liability that we've got. So when I talk to a young lady like that and I tell her about the system that we've proposed here, the pension proposal, she's thrilled with it. It is a great program, but we need to get to it and we need to start to change our course.
What is going to be the result of having a 401k sort of a program when we, and it inevitably will happen, have another recession? And if we had a depression like we had a few years ago, that devastates everybody who has a 401k
It devastates
type of
all
plan.
pension plans because most pension plans invest in something, Than.
Okay, that's what I was asking. Is
So you're exactly right. Look, we didn't get here overnight, as I mentioned before. There were some mistakes that were made within our pension systems. It started back in 2001, I believe, when the funds were fully flushed. There was Act 9 of 2001. When there was a decision made by the legislature. I was not a part of that at that point in time, but the systems were overfunded by, it was about 134% funded, and the decision was made to retroactively increase benefits. So they increased the multiplier for different classes. They gave current employees a higher benefit than they were expecting, but at that point in time they used up a bunch of the surplus. Then there were decisions made after that to when the market turned down. Okay, after that we had September 11th. That happened not too far after that. We had huge downturns in the market. We're on the other side of the Great Recession, as it's been termed, and the fact is that as a result of increased benefits, lack of contributions into the system by the employer, and poorer than expected performance, we find ourselves in this great debt. Is that a problem? It is a taxpayer problem, and the plan that we're proposing right now keeps an element of the defined benefit plan, but it also adds this defined contribution plan. Just as in the private sector, I think it's important, especially for higher compensated employees, to take some risk, to take some share of their responsibility for retirement planning, and I think the plan that we've got here is a good balance between a safety net defined benefit and a 401k type plan for new employees coming in. It's also got the positive features of a 401k. You know, you talk about the fact that we're asking those employees to take some risk. Well, that's the way the world is today. But, you know, with a 401k, those benefits are also portable. You can take them with you from one position, one job to another. They're also transferable. You know, you can pass those benefits on to your kids or grandkids. You can't do that with a defined benefit plan. So employees coming into the system today understand 401ks. I think they understand the risk associated with them, and I think they appreciate the positive aspects of them as well.
We have a call. Mike from Northumberland. You're on the mark. You have a question for our guest?
Yes. My question is that if a new system similar to a 401k system is going to be implemented, the $50 billion shortfall is still going to exist. You're going to start, if the proposal goes through, you're going to start a new system and you're starting with no cash at all. So what is going to be the startup cost for a 401k? Because anyone knows that you can't pay out when you have nothing to start with.
Well, number one, the systems, they do include a tremendous amount of assets in them right now. They are $50 billion underfunded, and make no mistake, it is a taxpayer problem at this point in time. It's exclusively a taxpayer problem, and we've got to pay the benefits that are owed so far. The idea of this new plan is not to close totally the defined benefit portion, but it is to ratchet back on that. So we've limited the defined benefit portion, and we've shifted some of that risk away from the taxpayer on onto the new employee coming into the system through the 401k element. So one of the shortfalls, one of the problems associated with totally closing it and opening up a straight 401k plan was accelerated amortization. It kind of took the debt that we've got in the systems right now and said, hey, we're not going to pay it back over 30 years. We're going to pay it back over the life or the expected length that an employee in the system right now is expecting to work until retirement, and that's 15 and a half years. So under this scenario, we're not closing the defined benefit plan. We are ratcheting back on it. We are introducing the first mandatory defined contribution plan into the Commonwealth. I can tell you that question comes up, and the concept, I think, that comes from is that these pension plans are dependent on new people coming into the system to pay for the other people that are already retired or in the system now. But let me tell you, pension plans are not Ponzi schemes. We are supposed to set enough money aside through the employee contributions, the earning, and the employer contributions to pay for the benefits. It's called the normal costs that are being earned right now for when that person retires. The Commonwealth owes the debt. We need to lower costs, develop savings so that we can rescue the benefits that we have promised to current employees.
That answer your question, Mike?
But you really didn't answer the question. You just said you're not going to close the defined benefit, and I absolutely know that because I have a lot of experience. I'm knowledgeable about this. You didn't answer and say how much the state is going to have to put in to start the 401k.
Okay, I apologize. So the contributions work like this. For salary above $50,000, the state will contribute 4% of the earnings for that person. For salaries under $50,000, they will contribute 0.5%. So under $50,000, they will develop the defined benefit portion. The state's contribution will be 0.5%. For salaries over $50,000, amounts over $50,000, the state will contribute 4%, and the employee will contribute 7%.
Okay, and I understand that. And the employee has been paying all the way through. It's the state and the school districts that have been allowed not to pay their share all the way through, which has created the $50 billion shortfall. Now, where is the state going to get the money to pay this, even with the 401k?
So
I haven't heard anything about that.
Okay, well, I have to just take issue with your statement that you indicated that the state, that the employees had made their contribution, and because the state did not make their contribution, that is exclusively the problem, and that is not the case. In 2001, Act 9 gave retroactive increases in benefits for existing employees. That is part of the problem.
Well, yeah, that's part of the problem, but a big part of the problem is the state and the school districts were allowed to not make any contributions for a number of years.
Absolutely. There's a threefold problem. Number one, lack of employer contributions. Number two, lack of the earnings in the system being the amount that were anticipated, and number three, retroactive increases in benefits. So those three things have come together. It is not fair to say it was only one thing.
Okay.
And as a result of that,
I agree with that, but you still haven't told me where is the state going to come up with this extra money to start putting it into the 401k?
Okay, Mike, he's heard your question. We're going to let him answer it on the air here. So we'll give you a second to get your radio back. There's a slight delay, so we'll give him a chance to turn his radio up. Okay, now.
Okay, thank you. Well, look, the state is making these contributions right now. The state has had a $600 million increase in their pension requirement in this past fiscal year. We will have a $600 million increase again. This plan is designed to lower costs, and the money will come through the tax-paying authority of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, and we need to be mindful of that. We need to be mindful of the fact that this is certainly not an overnight fix, but we are going to have to come up with the funds to guarantee the benefits to pay the benefits that we have guaranteed so far. We're going to have to come up with the funds for any new system that we were offering, and the system that we're offering now saves about $11 billion to the Commonwealth, so there will be an overall reduction in cost over the projection period of 30 years.
Wow. Okay, this is a fairly complex subject.
way over my head. I keep thinking we ought to tax the gas drillers and help out the system here, and then it's not that easy. That's what I'm.
Tax
my point
everybody.
is.
That's the answer. Right?
My answer would be it wouldn't hurt to tax the rich, but my problem is that it is so confusing. And I know, Mike, you said that people are not really getting on the bandwagon. They are listening to myths and so forth. This is an easy subject to mystify because it is so confusing. It's gone through so many iterations over the years, and everybody has solutions. And right now, government's not working.
But I think you have to look at the fact, then, that if they don't do something, we're going to have a really huge problem that won't be solvable at all.
I understand that. I think Mike would agree with me, and you would too. Yes, do something, but not just anything. It has to be done right. We're listening to Mike come up with some pretty good ideas here. I can see holes in your argument. I'm not well enough versed to be able to come up with them.
Somebody's going to have to make sacrifices in this thing, and whether it's. But
I
think
doubt.
what they're asking here is that people who don't work for the system right now make the sacrifices. They're not going to have the same kind of plans that employees now enjoy.
There's no question about it. And look, the full burden of this situation falls on the shoulders of the taxpayers. And I can tell you that if I go to a town hall meeting, we start talking about property taxes. Property tax is a big element of this. And I think that many people find themselves in a position not to be able to continue to afford increases in property taxes. But that's what the result will be. So, again, look, the basic scenario here is how are we going to put money into a 401k plan for people? Well, we're setting money aside right now. The requirement is into these defined benefit plans. If we don't get the rate of return that we're hoping for, the taxpayer will owe more money. And the increases that we're seeing over these next number of years will find it very difficult for us to continue to fund our school systems the way we'd like. So basically, just the most basic premise of this plan is to lower costs. And the second premise is to shift risk away from the taxpayer to make sure it doesn't happen again.
Let me ask you this, Mike. One of the reasons that the benefit packages have been so good is because cops, teachers, state employees are paid a lower salary but promised good benefits. So I'm assuming that the governor's plan also raises salaries to make up the difference, since you're taking away some fixed benefits.
Well, that's a premise that, and that's a, so you can hear that, you can listen to that. I mean, the fact of the matter is, when you go to Pine Grove School District and there's 344 applicants for a position, I'm not so sure that those salaries are different or not as generous as many other salaries within that community. So, look, I believe it's important for us to pay people what they are worth in every position. There's no question about that. But that should not come in the form of make-believe pension policy. We can't say, well, we're going to pay you this $30,000 this year and hope that we can pay you a benefit that we're promising for the next 30 years after you retire, because we can't pay you now, we'll promise to pay you later. That's another reason that we're in the situation that we're in right now. Make-believe pension policy is what got us into this situation, and we need to get out of it.
We have an email here I'd like to read from one of our listeners. It says, in 2008, due to deregulation, speculation, and unscrupulous investment practices, the stock market crashed, leading to millions of Americans losing portions of their retirement. What will this legislature do? What will you do to protect Pennsylvania's pensions, state workers and otherwise, from another Wall Street meltdown? And how will your pension as a legislator be impacted by this reform?
So let me just answer the last question first. Every new person coming in the system, including elected officials, would have the same plan. This is designed to have the same plan for everyone. I realize that we've got a number of classifications, including legislators that had different pension deals than other classes of workers throughout time. But this plan is designed to give everyone the same pension program in the Commonwealth. So I think, number one, that is a great idea. What can I do about the future of the stock market? I mean, that's well beyond the scope of what we're doing here. What we're trying to do is introduce reasonable, sustainable pension policy into the Commonwealth, something that more reflects what's going on in the private sector. We do offer under this program a safety net defined benefit program, which, as I mentioned before, we're keeping some defined benefit open, but you would no longer see six-figure pension payments being divvied out at the taxpayer's expense. When we ratchet back on this, it is for the first $50,000 of salary. The most benefit that you could get is 50% of that, so $25,000 would be guaranteed by the state, and the rest would be 401k type plan.
We're talking to State Representative Mike Tobash from the 125th District. He is a Republican. We're discussing welfare reform. I'll be all right. I don't consider retirement plans welfare.
It sounds like you both do, but that's okay.
No, we're talking about pension reform in the state of Pennsylvania. We're going to take a quick break, and then we'll be back with more of On the Mark. We invite you to join us in this conversation, 1-800-795-9565, or email us at onthemark@wkok.com.
Bring it back!
Bring it back! Please bring it back!
We can't say no to a child, can we?
Come to Island. We'll make it look nice. Island. We beat everybody's price.
Island Optical announces the return of $19 eye exams for every member of the family. Complete eyeglass exams performed by an independent doctor of optometry. A $59 value, now just $19 at Island. Nobody gives you more than Island, and we prove it again this fall. Just listen to these savings. Up to 50% off all frames. Complete eye exams for just $19. And contact lens exams starting at just $59. Discover why more than 500,000 people trust Eyeland for their family's eye care. The new fall styles are here, so call, click, or stop in today. Certain restrictions apply. In Shamokin Dam at routes 11 and 15 next to Haas's. Call 743-3937. Also in Williamsport and Berwick.
Nobody gives you more than Island. Nobody gives you more.
The Susquehanna Valley is a beautiful place to live, but don't you think it's sometimes hard to connect to community life? Maybe Christ Wesleyan is that connecting point for you. On campus, you can visit the Well Coffee House serving great food and drink options all week long. Find out more about Meadowbrook Christian School, our fully accredited educational experience. Get your family involved in Kidswear youth programs bringing fresh, fun, and inviting activities for all ages up to 12th grade. Find dozens of young adults who are experiencing real life change. A fully functioning gym and workout facility with sports activities for all. A Broadway quality production during our Christmas season with auditions open to the community, or maybe just check out one of our engaging Sunday morning services at 9 and 10:45. No matter what age or stage you're in, Christ Wesleyan in Milton has something for you. You don't need to be perfect, just come as you are. Find us online at cwcmilton.org. We're ordinary people trying to make our world a better and happier place to live. Christ Wesleyan, sharing the light.
It'll be home to 942 bursts of laughter, a 16-pound blackened turkey dinner, and the loudest burp on record. It will see its fair share of broken windows, broken bones, and broken hearts. But first, you have to find it. Start your home search at Zillow.com or on our family of apps. You can view millions of photos, browse historical pricing data, and even sign up for alerts when new homes hit the market. Zillow. Find your way home.
You need a website. Why not do it yourself? You know your business. With Wix.com, you can create a professional website all by yourself. It's easy and free. With Wix.com, you don't need to be a programmer. Just use the intuitive drag-and-drop website builder. There's no limit to how creative you can be. It's your website, your style. Show the world what you can do. Create your own stunning website today. Go to Wix.com. It's easy and free.
Coming up today after 3, an encore broadcast of The Steve Jones Show that followed Lift for Life. Great interviews with coaches and players and more. It's all 3 to 5 on The Steve Jones Show on News Radio 1070 WKOK.
Welcome back to On the Mark. I'm Joe McGranahan. Than Mitchell's here with me as our co-host, Kevin Herr, the world's greatest engineer who has awards orbiting in outer space, and who sent me a note a while back with our prior guest telling me to move to my right, which moved me out of the picture entirely. Thank you for that,
You're
Kevin.
starting to get the hint now, aren't you?
I am. Our guest is State Representative Mike Tobash from the 125th District. He is a Republican. He is from the State House of Representatives, and we're talking about pension reform. And Mike, let me ask you this. Governor Corbett has taken on a lot of things, very few of which, or some of the major ones of which, have not gone anywhere. Pension reform is one of them. Has he squandered his political capital and his ability to move something like this through?
So when I talk about this issue, I kind of started, we're going to give a presentation this evening in Carlisle, as a matter of fact. In the beginning of the presentation talks about principles, and politics. And look, in principle, in theory, when you take a look at the Commonwealth's financial statement and the steep increase we've got in these pension costs that are moving forward in the next number of years, and then the amount of employer contribution that we're going to be paying over the next 15 or 20 years, again, it's difficult to understand exactly how we're going to fund all the necessary programs that government needs to do. So when we talk about the governor, I think that he's certainly on the mark in this regard, that he understands the problem and he knows that we need to get out of this situation. We need to work our way out in a systematic, mindful, and thoughtful process. We've got a plan that we've delivered, and it does that. And the governor has looked at that plan, and he has endorsed it. And he is going throughout the Commonwealth right now, and he's talking about the problem. But as a result of that, he's also in an embattled political race right now. And we've got basically a two-party system here, and the people that are opposing him are, I think, dead set against giving the governor any victory. I am saddened by the fact that we've got a proposal here on the table that will be good for the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania moving forward, but I think that some people will not make a vote in favor of measurable, meaningful pension reform because they think it will give the governor a victory, and I think that's a shame.
Well, Mike, you've been involved in the insurance industry for most of your adult life. Does the insurance industry have some role to play in this? I mean, with annuities or things like that? I mean, is there some way that private enterprise can pick up some of this slack?
Well, I mean, look, we've got stakeholders throughout the Commonwealth. I mean, we mentioned unions before, but obviously businesses and individuals and their voice to get to their representatives and let their opinion be known. Look, I believe, as we've talked about here during the break, that absolutely every citizen in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania should be for meaningful pension reform. It will affect everyone. It will affect current retirees. Look at just what happened. Look at what just happened in Detroit. Detroit went bankrupt largely as a result of the pension debt that they had. A judge came back and said that retirees in the system will now be getting 4.5% less than they had been getting before. So retirees in Detroit are taking a cutback. Current people in that system are taking a reduction in what they were originally promised. That can happen in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania if we don't get our act together. People currently in the system, I've said this before, we need to rescue the benefits of people in the system. We've got to stop our pattern in Pennsylvania of handing out debt with every high school diploma. Make no question, we're doing it right now. And the people that I've talked about here, the young lady I've talked about before, people that are coming out of college with a degree, we'd like to get them in the classroom teaching our children, but we're going to be ill-equipped to do that if we don't work our way out of this situation.
Well, the pension reform is certainly one thing, but what about the system as it stands now? Can the system sustain the people who are collecting on it now or who will be collecting in a few short years?
Well, that's a great question, and I mean that remains to be seen. As I've mentioned before, that what we're trying to do here is rescue the benefits that we've promised people so far, and we need to do that by lowering costs, developing savings, shifting some risk away from the taxpayer, and promising new people coming in the system that they got a sustainable and realistic and reasonable program moving forward. If we do that, it's the first step. I can tell you that we vote on many things in the legislature, and this is a problem. This won't be just one vote. We're going to need to continue to address this problem until we get out of this massive debt, and our ability to do that is unfolding before us today. We need to get to it. The number right now is these systems are developing another $10 million of debt every week. We need to change the course. Just as I've mentioned, in 2001 with Act 9, we started on a path that got us $50 billion in debt. It is 2014. It is time to change the direction to get us $50 billion out of debt, but we've got to be mindful.
If nothing is done, at what point will the system collapse?
I don't know the answer to that. I mean, look, there's so many variables, and as we've mentioned before, it's a complex issue. Tell me what the rate of return is going to be. Tell me what the average life expectancy of someone in the retirement plan is going to be. Give me the different variables, and then an actuary can come up with the exact numbers. But there's a lot of things that are questioned in those variables and remain to be seen. But the fact of the matter is that under the current plan that we have right now, the taxpayer bears the entire burden of our ability to make those investment returns, and all of the scenarios that we're hoping are going to play out.
Well, we've kept you about 15, 20 minutes longer than we told you we would keep you. So I'm going to ask you if you have any final comments or anything that we didn't ask you that you want to bring out or you want to tell our audience.
Well, I just like to, number one, I'd like to thank you for allowing me to be on the program today. It's certainly an important issue. I characterize it sometimes as radon gas. You can't see it, you can't smell it, you can't taste it, but it's absolutely bad for us. It's bad for every taxpayer in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. The tremendous unfunded liability that we have. I can tell you that it is my sincere belief that the future of our public education system rests upon our decisions that we're making right now. I do not want to see increases in our classroom size, and we are headed in that direction. I do not want to see narrowing of curriculum. Let me give you the number. I told you about the huge increase. When we get to that year, 2018, 2019, and if we're on the path that we're on right now, the total employer contribution will be about 32% of payroll. For every $100 we put in the system, $32 will be going towards our pension obligation, which is huge. In the private sector, in a business, would be unsustainable. We've got a very vulnerable public education model right now as a result of this grave debt. And if we don't work our way out of it, I'm fearful of the future of public education. We need to make good decisions right now. Sometimes people, we talk about the fact that, hey, we've got this huge debt, and the program that we've proposed saves between $11 and $16 billion. Again, I say it's difficult to comprehend, Dan, what $1 billion is. We've got a line item in the budget that I was looking at the other day. It's drug and alcohol information program through the Attorney General's office, and that's an $11 million program. Than, do you know how long you can fund an $11 million program with $11 billion?
An hour?
A long time.
1,000 years.
Yeah.
It's
yeah.
I was
going to say about an hour because somebody will spend the money faster than that.
Well, that
that's
could
not
be
going to be where it goes.
But 1,000 years of funding for an $11 million program, the problem is huge. The savings in this program are meaningful. Again, I appreciate the fact that you've allowed me to come here today and hear some of your listeners and talk to them. Everyone needs to talk to their representative and let them know that it's important for us to get something done in this session, and I'm hopeful, and I believe that we will.
Our guest has been Representative Mike Tobash from the 125th District of the State House of Representatives. Mike, thanks so much for being with us. We'll take a break, and we'll be back with On the Mark.
While looking for a vehicle, you know that if it sounds too good to be true, chances are it is too good to be true. You get the runaround, gotta go from place to place. Well, you can just skip all of that and go straight to Sunbury Motor Company. Sunbury Motor Company has been satisfying more customers and selling more cars since 1915, so you know they've got it right. No offers that look good on paper or online, and then you get disappointed when you see them in person. Sunbury Motor Company offers a lineup few other auto dealers in the area can compete with. With the inventory of Ford, Hyundai, Kia, and Lincoln vehicles, there will be no problem finding the right vehicle that fits your needs and your budget. And the friendly, knowledgeable staff's ready and able to help you with everything from the test drive to the drive off the lot. See for yourself at Sunbury Motors. Sunbury Motors, Ford, Lincoln, Hyundai in the North 4th Street Auto Plaza, Sunbury. And Sunbury Motors Kia, routes 11 and 15, Hummel's Wharf. Look for them online anytime at sunburymotors.com.
Ready to gear up and go? That's the sound of a Kubota Commander zero-turn mower. Its 10-gauge steel welded mower deck provides professional-level cutting performance for homeowners across America. And with low-rate, long-term financing available right now, you'll be saving more than just time next weekend. Kubota zero-turn mowers, built for the best things in life. Gear up and go at Kubota.com to find a dealer near you.
Driving has a rhythm all its own. Don't wreck it with a text. Before you get behind the wheel, silence your phone. Or better yet, designate a texter. For more text-free driving tips, visit StopTextStopWrecks.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration.
Daddy, can I have the keys?
Someday, your little one will want to drive.
Dad, can I have the keys?
And now that they've gone from car seats to car keys, you can only hope they'll drive safely. Go beyond telling your kids to look both ways. Tell them not to talk or text while driving. And if they drink, call you 24/7.
This message brought to you by the stations of Sunbury Broadcasting Corporation, including Newsradio 1070 WKOK and Sealands Grove Ford, proud supporters of Susquehanna Smart Drive.
Welcome back to On the Mark. I'm Joe McGranahan along with Dan Mitchell. We thank our guest, Representative Mike Tobash, for being with us this morning.
A very good explanation,
yes,
but
he is.
Way over my head. I'm sorry to say, Joe, I really think the reason he said people aren't involved, I think he's right. And it's because they have kids, they've got to go to school, they've got soccer practice, they have jobs, and this is very confusing.
Well, at some point, you have to trust our legislators to do what's necessary to solve a problem like this. But I agree with him that I think people who have a vested interest in preserving the status quo are the ones who start yelling the loudest. I can understand the union saying, well, look, we don't want any reduction in benefits for our people in the future. And I think it would be difficult to have a mixed group where some people are getting this pension plan, some people are getting the other pension plan. But if we don't do that, the bottom line is that we've got a huge problem and the taxpayers are going to wind up footing the bill.
Well, one of the things that I heard from Mike and from you is you put on your fear goggles. We have to worry like crazy. No, we don't. We have to work it out. We're human beings who can work it out.
We are doing that.
But you don't have to talk about fear all the time. We are not going to crash because of this. We have to fix it.
We're not going to crash because of it. We're going to crash if we don't fix it. No. And how many times have you seen government be willing to fix anything? I mean, I commend our state representatives and both sides of the party for at least being willing to tackle this issue and realizing it's a problem. And instead of kicking the can down the road, they do appear to be trying to address the issue.
One of the things that I don't know, and I came in unprepared, not
just
knowing.
Just one of many.
Oh, so many, yes. Is what is the opposition? And what I hear is it's mythology and so forth. Baloney. There is opposition, and it makes sense. I just don't know what it is. I was hoping that I believe it was Mike who was calling, who appeared to have a real handle on what the opposition might be. But he's not there. It's not his job to be there. But I'd like to hear more from the other side. And I have to point out to you that I have no idea what I'm talking about.
Where did that come from?
That is my favorite piece of Stan audio. I just want you to know that.
Yes, let's save that for every day. When we introduce Stan, that should be what comes out of the radio. The first thing we say, here's Stan Mitchell, and that comes out.
Just remember, Joe, I'm always recording and waiting for an opportunity for you next.
But I don't say anything that dumb.
And there it is.
There we go.
There we go. Right. There you got it.
Have you got that, Kevin?
I'm sure he does. He's probably working on it even now.
Now he's got a phone call
coming in. It is a difficult situation, but I mean, if you look at the people who are there and the fact that they've been given generous retirement plans, because it was deferred compensation in effect. It was money I could give you today and make you feel good, but I don't have to pay it out for years. Well, now we're at the point where we're paying it out. And something has to be done to bring it back in check. I mean, I look at the pension some people get, and my gosh, they're almost making more money. I mean, at some point it gets to the point that it's not worth their while to work.
But don't forget, the reason they worked at a small salary was the promise of the benefits, and that is what they were sold.
But we're not all talking small salaries here. We're talking people who have big salaries and big benefits and big retirement plans. It's not all the little guy here. It's everybody.
But the little guy is the one that's going to be hurt. The big guy has enough money not to worry about.
How is the little guy going to be hurt if he gets the pension that he was promised now, and then in the future, another little guy coming along doesn't get that pension?
No, what I'm saying is if you don't raise the salaries, if you stop using the benefits to attract people to the job, you're going to have to raise the salaries.
Not necessarily.
And we won't even talk about putting the minimum wage at a living wage.
Stop and think about this. Let's say the job pays $50,000 a year and has a very generous retirement plan. So all of a sudden the job pays $50,000 a year but doesn't have that retirement plan. If I still want the job, I'll accept it.
In other words, you just no responsibility at all for an employer to take care of the employee as he promised.
But we're not talking about what he promised. We're talking about what the future is now. As we promised is what we're doing now. We're fulfilling the commitment that we have. But I'm talking about the future. Why is a lesser payment plan or a pension plan for somebody who works in the future the fault of the employer for not taking care of the employee. I accepted the job. I came in and I said, the plan has changed now. This is what I get. I say, okay, I could accept that.
I buy that.
Well, you don't. You just argued with me against it.
I accept what you're saying.
Okay.
I'm not accepting that it's right. Perhaps if the present legislators were willing to see the same changes to their pensions that they're imposing on future employees, they would be more there would be more acceptance to this plan.
I believe he said that they are accepting that it will be the same plan for them.
I was thinking he did too, but I was not for sure that was right.
If it doesn't, then there's a problem. You know, it's got to be across the board. It has to affect everybody. Don't you agree?
Oh, yeah. Well, thanks for defining the pension. In the future, your language really shouldn't be commented as the state's contribution. It is, in fact, the taxpayer making the contribution.
This is an email that we got in. Make it simple. Anybody currently in the system gets their current promise now, and moving forward, anybody hired tomorrow is put on non-matched 401k like every other small business owner or employee. If that's good enough for me, it should be good enough for you. Why should my money fund your retirement and or other state employees' retirement? And if we need to borrow money to stop this monster, borrow money. You're not going to do it anyway. No Band-Aids, please. And I agree with that. No Band-Aids. Fix it. Get it off the table.
And does that ever happen in government, federal or state, that we actually fix something and get it off the table?
I think this switching to this partial hybrid plan, that sounds reasonable to me. I mean, I agree with you. It's a complex issue, and I'm sure I don't understand all the ins and outs of it. But it's listening to the Representative Tobash speak, it seems reasonable to me.
It does seem reasonable, but does it not seem reasonable to you, too, that it's not all politics that is the opposition? Some of the opposition is very, very thoughtful opposition. Now, that I don't know what it is only shows that I didn't study for today's program. It's still out there.
Well, fix it. Thoughtful opposition, you know, in some cases comes from the unions who don't want to see changes to things they've gained, and Representative Tobash said that. That's a certain amount to me of intransigence. I think that's
politics.
That's short-sightedness. The problem has to be solved. I mean, who are they, if they don't want to do this, who are they going to ask to solve the problem? It's going to be on the backs of the taxpayers, like everything else is in this country.
But in Pennsylvania, we don't tax people who should be paying taxes. Part of the problem is the fact that we let the gas drillers get away with virtually no.
But they pay the largest per capita net.
Oh, I hear that all the time. They're going to go drill where there's no gas.
That's not enough for you. That's not enough for you. I mean, they're paying 10% of that. They're paying all the other taxes, and that's not enough. They got to pay more. I hear this. They're not paying their fair share stuff, and it kind of rankles me because they're paying a large part of tax that they wouldn't have paid in other states.
Do you realize that probably, and let's look at this, we probably can find this, I'll bet the gas companies don't pay as much percentage of tax as you do. And they are by far richer than you are, even though you live on the hill.
They pay a 9.9% corporate net income tax, which is higher than any other state in the country. They pay that tax. In Texas, I think the total levy they pay against drillers is 5%. Here, just on that one tax, they pay 9.9%. And then somebody says, well, they're not paying their fair share. Well, what's their fair share? If you don't like 10% compared to other states that are 5%, what's their fair share?
Well, obviously enough to be able to support our state, which is part of the problem.
That's right. Let's fund everything off the backs of the gas companies and the rich. Soak the rich.
Well, okay. The Republican idea, soak the poor. I'll be here with Ben
not
tomorrow.
Soak the poor. Let's just let everybody survive. Why can't we all just get along? Huh?
Thank you very much for being here today, Joe.
Yes, it's always fun to argue with you.
And thank me for being here.
Yes, thank you for being here. Thank Kevin for being here. Thank our guests. It was an interesting morning. We invite you to join us again tomorrow for On the Mark with Than Mitchell and Ben Reichley. That should be fun on WKOK Radio in Sunbury, Pennsylvania. Kevin Herr, the world's greatest engineer, will no doubt be here as well.
Hope so.